Half-Life Alyx is out in less than 3 weeks, and in order to be able to celebrate the release of the first Half-Life game in nearly 12 years, Valve released 2 small environments ported directly from the game in SteamVR Home. The level of detail that they were able to cram just within these 2 small sections of the game blows my mind and has never been seen before in any virtual reality or hell, mainstream video game. But there's something that a lot of people have already figured out. These are the legitimate assets that are used within Half-Life Alyx. They had to be ported over to a lesser version of Source 2, the engine that runs SteamVR Home, but all of the assets are the same. That means all of the file paths, file names, file directory references to other things that may not be within these environments are all there. They were just ported wholesale. And because of this, I've been able to extrapolate quite a bit of information about Half-Life Alyx, the experience, that caused the entire internet to want to kill me. So I need to warn people, even though there's not a whole lot of information related to the story of Half-Life Alyx going to be discussed within this video, this is still considered spoiler territory. So if you want to go in completely blind into Half-Life Alyx, just stop watching this video. I put up a really fun video yesterday about text-to-speech GLaDOS voices. Go watch that instead. But for those that want to see the information I was able to glean out of the Half-Life Alyx environment data mines, this is the video for you. This is everything that I was able to learn while data mining the Half-Life Alyx SteamVR Home environments, and all of the information that we can extrapolate and speculate on in relation to the game's experience. Here we go. Of course, a lot of this is just world building. We have brand new remakes of almost every single major asset seen within Half-Life 2. There's an interesting point. Half-Life 2 as an entire game had about 2,000 models within it. These 2 small environments have about 900 models within them alone. This game is detailed to the point where every single asset from Half-Life 2 could have been remade, and that's still just scratching the surface of the art assets that had to be made for this game. So, for example, you have a Combine dropship being completely remodeled, the Hunter chopper being completely remodeled, and then you have a lot of very tiny details. For example, the gravity gloves, as we now know, are called the Russells, the character Russell named them after himself, have a check engine light from a car attached to them, and when your health is low, the check engine light comes on. Found within the Russell environment itself is an early version of the Russells that are actually just beta models of the gravity gloves from an earlier version of Half-Life Alyx, just repurposed as an earlier prototype that Russell made. Incredible world building. There's a microphone that you can't do anything with in the SteamVR environment because most of the interactions were stripped out, but in Half-Life Alyx you're going to be able to push down the button and the button lights up. According to my sources, there is a part in the game that involves speaking into the microphone. There are interactable items. For example, this 2-handed lift item that I have no idea what it does, and this window. Here's an interesting fact. This window is found in multiple places in the Russell environment. You actually climb in through this window and then start this whole level experience out. This is an entire scripted sequence between you, being Alyx, and Russell. And then later in the game, as seen in the trailer, when Russell throws you the pistol, he's sitting out of this window that you can already open when inside the Russell environment. Half-Life Alyx's attention to detail in world building is unprecedented. This is Valve back 100%. Something that a lot of people have already noticed is that there is a significant amount of alcohol hidden throughout the world. You have red beer, Chesterfield Lager, and Red Lion vodka. Red Lion vodka in particular actually has a ration-based bottle, meaning that the Combine is actually distributing out vodka bottles as rations to citizens. Interesting point, Red Lion vodka is the same distillery that's seen in this ad. The distillery of Red Lion Vodka is a level that you go to in the game. And as seen within some of the deep references within these assets, there's a character named Larry that you meet within this distillery. You have a lot of Combine lore, such as an egg-flavored ration, a water-flavored ration, and a Combine box. There's a lot of other general world building. There are a lot of brand names that Valve came up with, such as Hard Fix Screws, Koga Soda, original flavor, Handy Fork Catering, Miguel Selected Tobaccos, Massive Peaks Natural Spring Water. An interesting point about this water bottle is using the index's ability to feel pressure squeezed within your hand. You can squeeze this bottle. There's an animation for it in the game. Massive Peaks Natural Water also has billboard advertisements within the underground subway levels that we've seen different people play. And of course, Massive Peak's natural spring water is related to don't drink the water, they put something in it to make you forget. Within Russell's environment, there is a book sitting on his shelf called From Here to There in Under a Second by Dr. Isaac Kleiner. In a previous video, I mentioned how Dr. Kleiner isn't actually seen within the game, but he's mentioned. And this is where he's mentioned. Dr. Isaac Kleiner actually wrote this book many years ago, and you actually see it in Kleiner's laboratory in Half-Life 2. This is just an updated, possibly first edition version. On the back of this book, which you can't actually see in the environment because you can't pick the item up, is a huge write-up about both the book and Dr. Kleiner himself. Let's read it. In From Here to There in Under a Second, Dr. Isaac Kleiner brings a new understanding as well as a compelling thesis to a subject long considered to be the stuff of science fiction: teleportation. Taking us through the history of this burgeoning and controversial new field in theoretical physics, Kleiner seeks to explain the unexplainable in his thorough and often thrilling peek into a potentially transformative new addition to humanity's future. Praise for From Here to There in Under a Second. Kleiner brings clarity and excitement to the realm of the impossible. That's from Popular Science. Dr. Isaac Kleiner is a facility member of the MIT Center for Theoretical Physics. He earned renown for his pioneering contributions to the emerging field of quantum teleportation. You have a bunch of graphics cards, 3D accelerator cards by 3DXP Emerald Media. This is a take on the Diamond Media 3DFX graphics cards that were popular in the late 90s and early 2000s. Amazing attention to detail. You have AHS cassette tapes, not VHS cassette tapes, by two different companies, MaxViz TrueColor and Bram Electronics. By the way, Bram Electronics is the same company that manufactured the microwaves that you use to charge up the Russells at the beginning of the game. We also have references to a level that takes place in a zoo, as there's an alternate version of a box specifically to be found within a zoo. There is a level that takes place at the very beginning of the game, at least according to my information, that is Alyx's own hideout. Within this hideout, there is a clipboard with an Alyx-made placeholder design document for different ways of building dog again. Read into that yourself. You also have a whiteboard in this area that has some kind of escape timeline plan. I'm not really able to extrapolate this itself, but it seems like there's a window between 8:25 and 8:34 a.m. where Alyx is able to sneak past some guards. This obviously has something to do with the story. There's a level taking place within an office with a heavy choreographed scene, at least according to this post-it note that references Laszlo, the greatest mind of his generation. There is a Combine truck ride within this game, as the civil protection prison trucks seen within the City 17 environment are fully modeled on the inside with openable doors. There's also a reference to a CS Militia remake. This is separate from Half-Life Alyx. CSGO is being ported to Source 2 very soon, and there's an unseen model with a reference to CS Militia. It's not seen in the current version of Militia that was then reskinned to be reused in Half-Life Alyx. Counter-Strike Global Offensive fans, Militia seems to be getting remade. Level 2, Chapter 2, the Quarantine Zone, the one that we see everybody play, the one that takes place within the subway, is actually Part 2 of the Quarantine Zone. That subway level is the second part. The first part is a heavily scripted sequence involving the Combine having a large quarantine, hazmat crates, hazmat suits, cleaned up hazmat trash bags, gas masks, and quarantining out a huge environment of City 17. Russell's hideout is actually originally named Joseph's hideout. You see, I actually reported back in November that Russell originally had a Russian accent. This is true and pushed forward by the internal files. His original name was Joseph in the version of the game before the rewrite when Eric Wolpaw came back to Valve. All of the Russell-specific assets are actually prefixed with Josie. And then you have the thing that gives out the most information, called an interior poster notice. It's just world-building posters that are placed on the walls in specific interior areas. And there is one version of it seen on the walls of City 17. And it just shows off a train schedule, because, you know, there's a train station near City 17. However, there are significantly more versions of this model. In Source 2, there's something called material groups. A specific model can have multiple versions of the texture applied to it. And you have the default one, which is the train schedule, but then you have an internal underground maintenance check, which is for the subway level we've seen people play, a train schedule version 2, which is likely seen within the train station itself, a hotel employee schedule, which is likely seen in levels similar to the first half of the Russell lab environment where it's a hotel room, an employee schedule for a distillery, once again solidifying the fact that there is a level taking place at a distillery, and an employee schedule level at a zoo. Again, confirming that we have a zoo level. Lastly, we have references to a Vortigaunt hideout. Likely we have a large group of Vortigaunts living by themselves, hiding from the Combine because, once again, report the Vort, and that's everything I was able to learn out of data mining these HLVR environments. SteamVR Home gave us a lot of information, but I assure you, there is just so much more information out there. We are looking at like 10% of what could possibly be gleaned by this game. Valve has given a very conservative estimate of about 15 hours gameplay time for Half-Life Alyx. Here's the thing. People like me are going to be picking up every single thing in the environment. These are so detailed. For example, did you know that within Russell's lab itself, Russell ripped off one of those Combine wall cabinets that hold grenades and attach it to the rafters so that he could hack into the projector that is used for Alyx to hack into it to make that hologram on the table in his lab. The attention to detail in this game blows my mind. I need to make it known that that 15-hour gameplay estimate is likely for people that aren't looking at everything, but they have dumped so much money and man-hours into the game to be able to create what is likely the best Half-Life experience for anybody that cares, that my gameplay time will likely be in the 20 or 30 hours mark. Because I'm going to be picking up every item, interacting with every object, talking to every NPC that would talk to me. And if something like the lab or Aperture Hand Labs is any indication of the level of detail put into the dialogue that Eric Wolpa would write within the game, standing around and not doing what people ask you to do is probably worth more of your time than just doing what they tell you right up front. I have been told by my sources that there is a lot of expository information that is given to players that want to know it, and just kind of waiting around to do things is the best way of doing so. On top of that, as seen within both the gameplay trailers that take place within the quarantine zone and the gameplay videos that we got from IGN, it seems as if Russell responds to everything. And according to my sources, oh my god, Russell responds to everything! And there's jokes and banter written for all of it. So just imagine Russell's lab itself, when you're standing next to Russell, looking at his fridge, or his hologram, or his computers. He's gonna talk to you about all of it. And so even though there's probably 15 hours of gameplay for the average person, for someone like me, and I'm sure it's a lot of people like you out there, we are looking at the most dense video game experience that Valve has ever produced. And because it's Valve, Valve has endless money, and when they put their mind to something, they do 100% and become the pillar that every other company achieves to copy for the next decade, see Half-Life 2, this might be the most dense video game experience we have ever seen. Lore nerds, get ready. Half-Life nerds, oh my god, this is the most exciting thing that has likely ever happened to the Valve community. Just the content potential going into each individual piece of lore here just makes me so excited for my next few years of Valve News Network. If you're interested in lore-based videos, very deep lore-based videos based around the environments and information that can be gleaned out of Half-Life Alyx, let me know in the comment section below, because it's something I am very interested in doing. If you want to follow up on all of the topics I cover on this channel in real time, check out my Twitter page, link down in the description below. It's at Valve News Network, no K. I put a lot of news on there that doesn't end up anywhere else. For example, this Gordon Freeman model, it's fake. That tweet got like 500,000 views. I should have made a video on it. If you want to support these videos, my Patreon page is down in the description below. You get to watch videos early, you get your name in the credits, and you get to help me out financially on a consistent basis. Thank you very much for that. If you have a question, a leak, a concern, criticism, did I do something wrong? Did I do something right? Email me, tylermcvicker@yahoo.com, and my DMs on both Twitter and Discord are always open, and the Discord server's down in the description below as well. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Tyler McVicker. This is Valve News Network. Have a good day. Adios.